عبدك المعصوم الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة، لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين. ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم أمنا من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واعلموا أن فيكم رسول الله لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أحسنت. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to begin first by congratulating all of you. One, that you have, mashallah, young people who are so energetic and enthusiastic and who have a desire to continue what has been started here for many decades, many decades. And Sayyid Najjar, rahmatullahi alayh, Hajjar, Sayyid Hajjar, rahmatullahi alayh, he is the one who begins this and pushes for it forward. And you see the thamara that comes out of it because of these young people. No? But that doesn't mean that it stops. It must continue to go. Because the goal is more than just a house or a place where you gather. Salat is the most important. Dua, dhikr of Allah, dhikr of Ahlul-Beyt. But the cultivation of something that will last. Not just 40 years, 50 years, 200 years, 300 years. And you think I'm making this statement lightly. I am not making this statement lightly. The goal is to make it last forever, insha'Allah. Not to say that in 10 years it's gone. Our goal is to say, for the end of time we are working, insha'Allah. For the dhuhur of the Imam, Al-Imam Al-MEHDI, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. And we know. I said to you yesterday about truth. We spoke very simply about truth. That the goal in life is to ask yourself that what I'm adhering to today, is it the truth? What I believe in, what I live upon, what I act upon in my life, is it the truth? The only way you can know the answer to that is through deen. Deen is the answer. Religion. It is an institution that you know has been given to you by the Supreme Creator, by the Khaliq of everything, who knows from any moment to any moment what is the truth and what is going to be enacted. That is your life, is to follow this code of deen in front of you. And you see that in life, that deen that has come to you today is no different than the deen that was there yesterday, than 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. This is the same deen, no difference. And if I tell you, you don't have to believe me. I'm nobody. But if the Holy Quran tells you, then you have to accept it. The Quran, which is Allah's immutable message, if it tells you, and it says, شَرَعَ لَكُم مِّنَ الدِّينِ مَا وَصَّى بِهِ نُوحًا وَالَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ وَمَا وَصَّيْنَا بِهِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى وَعِيسَى أن أقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه. The ayah is very clear. شرع لكم من الدين. He says, I have instituted, ordained the religion for you, that which we had directed Nuh towards. وَالَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ يَا مُحَمَّدٍ. We inspired Rasulullah to this same deen, and which we had given the wasiyah for to Ibrahim, to Musa, to Isa. Now, how does he say it in the ayat of the Quran? And you know better Quran than me. You're all Arabic speakers. I am not. He says, أَنْ أَقِيمُ الدِّينَ وَلَا تَتَفَرَّقُوا فِيهِ. When he says for you in the Quran to do salat, how does he tell you to pray? He says, Sallu wa zakku, or he says, Sallu wa atu zakat. Does he say that? No, what does he say? Aqimu salat. Aqimu salat wa atu zakat. Why aqimu salat? Because salat is not just about up and down, up and down. It's about establishing an institution for yourself. So when Allah says, Aqimu ad-din wa la tatafarraqu fih, what is he saying? He's saying follow the religion? No, he's not saying follow the religion. He's saying establish the religion. Sow it into your roots. Sow it into the building in which you live. Sow it into the food which you are eating. Sow it into the books you read. Everything sow in your religion. And do not divide. Don't be divided on the cause of your religion. And that's why all these Anbiya and Mursaleen, even the ones specifically, the Ulul Azm min al-Rusul, who are mentioned in this ayah, they have a specific place in the Holy Quran. And you see how the Quran describes them in a very beautiful, beautiful way. If you begin with the first, who is Nuh alayhi salam, what does Allah say? That for so long, 80 years, he grew trees and he built the ark. No? And the people did what? They laughed at him. They called him crazy. That you are in the middle, nowhere close to water. You're growing trees and you're building a ship. If you were in Mosul, where do you think that ark stopped? In Mosul. The riwayat say that after the rain and the water from the flooding had subsided, the fulk, it landed in Mosul. That's what the riwayah says. So, in Mosul, how close is the sea to Mosul? Very close? It's like Basra? It's not like Basra, no? So if you're going and building a ship in the middle of the desert, people will walk and they'll say, crazy, you're crazy. Today, you're trying to build Islamic institution, people will laugh at you. They will laugh, they will say, what are you doing? This is not modern, it's not contemporary, they will laugh at you. And yet, when the adhab of Allah comes, what does the ayah say? وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. We saved him and his family from this great trial. وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ. We made so that his children will remain. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. This last part, look what he says. He says, Nuh was such a great example. He did such a great thing, his message to Allah, that we made it so that anyone in the future after him who they remembered him with good thoughts. Ya Allah. The respected Sayyid Rahmatullahi alayh, we remember him today. Do we not? Why? Because of what he did. Quran says the same thing about Nabi Nuh. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. We made it so that even after Nuh is gone, people went and they remembered him. Not just Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam is the same. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. When he came to sacrifice Ismail alayhi salam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered that Ismail is moved and the ram is placed, what happens? وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Same thing. He did such a great thing, he sacrificed for the cause of Allah. Allah says for the rest of time, humanity will remember the name of Ibrahim. Same thing with Musa and Harun. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِمَا فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Same thing. Musa and Harun. We left a legacy for them. Why all of this? Because we have to leave a legacy. We have to leave something behind. We have to build something, and we have to ensure that when we die, that building stays. If you have not done that, if you let it die in your life, or you've not done what you were supposed to do to make sure that it stays alive, then ask yourself the responsibility that Allah placed on your shoulder, did you fulfill it? That is a very difficult question to ask, and more difficult even to answer. That's why even the Quran points to how hard it is. I mentioned to you yesterday that the task of the Anbiya and the Mursaleen was very difficult. And they had to tell people, I am a Nabi, I am a Rasul, follow me. But that they always left a wasi behind. The people who were with the Anbiya and the Mursaleen, their life was very difficult, was it not? It was extremely difficult, extremely difficult. And that's why even the Holy Quran, what does it say? Over and over again. وَكَأَيٍّ مِّن نَبِيٍّ قَاتَلَ مَعْهُ رِبِّيُّونَ كَثِيرٌ. There are so many Nabi with whom these people of God, devoted to God, were fighting alongside the Nabi, supporting the Nabi. فَمَا وَهَنُوا لِمَا أَصَابَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَمَا ضَعُفُوا وَمَا اسْتَكَانُوا وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الصَّابِرِينَ. Ayah of the Quran. Imagine if the role of the Nabi is difficult, how difficult is the role of the wasi? How difficult is the role of those who are not next to the Nabi? At least if the Nabi is standing there, you have the sign of Allah in front of you, in front of your eyes, you can see Him. Your heart feels strong, no? That's why even Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, he says that when the difficulty will come in Medina, the kuffar of Quraysh, when they will come to Medina to attack Medina, he says, and people were afraid, everyone knew where to look when you were afraid. We would look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa alihi. We will look at Muhammad and our hearts will feel courage. So now imagine Rasul is gone, how difficult it is to keep his message, his institution alive, to keep that institution going the way he had set it up. And that's why the ayah, it's very clear. It says, وَمَا وَهَنُوا لِمَا أَصَابَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The word wahanu, if you translate it into English, do you know what it means? It means your heart becomes weak. It's not your physical body. Your heart becomes weak. You lose courage. You lose courage. وَمَا ضَعُفُوا وَمَا اسْتَكَانُوا. They physically did not become weak. They did not give in, but their hearts did not become weak. I told you that this is the source of all your strength yesterday. This is the source of your strength. This is what will keep you on that path, keep your legacy alive. Why? Because the one thing that the world will do to you, and they say that Carl Jung, I don't know how many of you have read Carl Jung. Carl Jung is the great philosopher. You know what he says? And this is nothing new. He says, if people, and I am paraphrasing, if people don't have an identity, environment will give them an identity. No? If I don't know who I am today, who's going to tell me that's going to make me who I am? The environment will tell me. So I have to know already who I am and not allow my environment to tell me. That is very difficult. That was difficult in the time of the A'imma al-Athar. The A'imma al-Athar, when they lived their lives, they were surrounded by Muslim. But how many were Shia around them? So few. So few. They had to hide who they were. The Shia had to hide who they were. Why? Because everyone around them was against the Ahlul-Beyt, against the way of the Shia. So imagine that pressure now you feel that you have to go forward. So those institutions that are built by Rasulullah that have to stay alive, that is Amir al-Mu'mineen's task. That is Amir al-Mu'mineen's job that he has to do. And you see the difficulty of this. Why? Because it requires leadership. They did an assessment, all of you know by now, that I am a scientist, so I look at the data, and that's always interesting to me. They did some analysis on why institutions fail. Okay? Any institution, whether it is a university, whether it's a corporation, a business, a nation, anything. They did an analysis to find out what is the cause. And they determined three things. Three things that happens. A loss of ideology, meaning the institution was built on something, some ideals, some ethics, some morals, some standards. Over time, those ideals change. The ideology changes. Today, I'm telling you this, that in this country, in North America, we have Shi'i organizations, Shi'i mosques, those that have the permission, they have ijazah to collect khums, where members of their community want to join the board of the mosque, and they are people who are practicing fawahish. I don't want to say it openly. You understand my meaning. Huh? It's happening here now, today. I received calls about this, that what should we do? Scared. People are scared. Because if that person becomes on the board, openly doing fahisha, how do you answer this? How do you hold on to your ideology? And slowly, slowly it decays and it breaks up your organization. This begins with us individually. Anything that shapes our ideology, changes our ideology over time, will etch away, break it apart until there's nothing left. So when you build your institution, you have to keep the ideology pure. Culture aside, national tendency aside, language aside, other than the language of Allah, deen is the only thing. Deen is the only thing. The first thing, ideology. The second thing, arrogance. Think. The ego of insan will destroy an institution. I know what's right, and that's what I'm going to do. I know what is correct, and even though I can see the bad consequences of my actions, I'm going to keep going. In any institution, there is no ana. There is no ana. That's why, again, you look at the legacy of Rasulullah, you look at the legacy of the Imams. They are the Imam, they are the chosen of Allah, and yet they never make it about them. It is always about the deen of Allah, preserving the deen of Allah. That's why on the night of Hijrah, Rasul is leaving to go to Medina. He comes to Ali, he says, Ya Ali, Ya Abul Hasan, will you sleep in my bed? And one question Imam Ali asks, one question. If I sleep in your bed, Ya Rasulullah, will the deen of Allah be saved? Rasulullah, he says, yes, Ya Ali. Imam Ali alayhi salam, without thinking, without another pause, is lying in the bed of Rasulullah. There is no ana in deen. There is no me. It is only what you are building. Same goes for your center. The center has to be that. You build it based on fulfilling the requirements of deen. Nothing else matters. No human being matters. And when I say no human being, please understand what I am saying. I am not saying not to have respect and not to have reverence for elders. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the goal is the upholding of deen. An aqimu ad-din wa la tatafarraqu fi. The ayat of the Quran. The third thing, they say, is a sign or an indication of an institution falling apart, is called strategic incompetence. Strategic incompetence, you know what it means? It means you have smart people in the organization, professionals, people who know what they're doing. They have wisdom, they have hikmah, they have experience, but they make bad decisions. They make bad decisions. They're smart, they have knowledge, but they make bad decisions. Either they're greedy, they want power, they want recognition, something happens. And they keep making bad strategic decisions, decisions that are not good for the center, not good for the organization, not good for the institution. When that happens, what do you leave to the next generation? Is it the same thing you built before? It's not the same thing you built before. It's something that slowly has changed. Today it's 5% that changed, maybe 5%. In 20 years, you think that 5% remains 5%? No, it becomes 15%, 20%, 50%. You start to see change. That's why you hold on. You keep what is built here. That's why today, we have the imamah. If Rasulullah came and he gave the ayat of the Quran, finished the completion of the religion, perfected the religion, imamah is here to preserve that religion. And that's why you know this riwayah, it's reported that Rasulullah is walking with his companions. And as he's going, he says to them, Minkum rajul, yuqatil ala ta'wil al-Quran kama qataltu ala tanzil al-Quran. Amongst you is a man who is going to fight to preserve the interpretation of the Quran. Why? The true understanding of deen, just like I fought when it was coming down, when it was being revealed by Allah to me. All the men, they said, is it me? Is it me? He said no to all of them. He says, khasaf al-na'al. Go back and look. There is one of you, he's fixing his sandals, sitting on the ground. When they looked back, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam is fixing his sandals. That is imamah. Today, deen is alive today, preserved today, because of the imam. Because of the legacy of imamah. Because of what imamat means to us. That legacy we have to carry. We carry it on our shoulder. The marja', may Allah preserve him, he is the representative of the 12th imam, and we have carried the responsibilities as muqallideen. Same way. Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Nothing is different. That responsibility, my dear brothers and sisters, is on us. That's why you should and make every effort to keep what you have here going. Don't allow it even 1% to decay. Don't allow it to decrease even a speck. Even a speck. Push it forward. Because believe me, even the littlest of things can cause problems. Leadership being the most important. I will tell you a study I read, interesting study. They brought some students in at a very prominent university. And they were all in the same class. Everyone is a student. They said, we want to do an experiment. We're going to watch you. They put them in groups of three people. Okay? They brought them in, they sat them down on the tables, three each group. They said, look, we want you, two of you, you pick, between the three, amongst the three of you, you pick, two of you will write an essay, 2-page essay, and they give them the topic. You will write the essay. The third one, who doesn't write, they will grade the essay. Fair enough, that's easy. So they went, they broke them up. These people started working in groups of 3. 2 of them are writing the essay, 1 is waiting to grade. While that's happening, the experimenters, they bring a plate of cookies and they place it down. On the plate of cookies, there are 5 cookies. 5 cookies. Why does that strike you as strange? 5 cookies. There are 3 of them. That means what? 1 gets only 1. It's not even. If it was even 2 apiece, there'd be 6 cookies, but they put 5 on purpose. They said that almost always, they were watching them from outside, almost always, the 2 who were writing the essay, they ate 2 cookies, they ate 1 cookie by themselves, and they were waiting. Whereas the one who was the grader, right, the one who's the teacher, who's got the authority to grade the paper, when you grade the paper, what do you think? You have knowledge. You are the one who's told to correct the other 2, right? The one who was told to be the great, but that's a student. The third person is just a student like the other 2, no different. They said almost inevitably that grader, the teacher, the one who's grading the paper, they ate the extra cookie. And not only that, they were watching them how they ate the cookie. Not just that they ate it. They said they ate it almost like an animal. Yeah, you read the study. They ate it, the crumbs are falling on their face, and they're eating it really fast. And you know what they concluded? They said power went to their head. Power went to their head. This is a verified study. I'm not telling you something that's in Google just like that. Just from something small like this, look how quickly it can go to your head. And this dynamic exists anywhere. Me, you've heard me maybe say this, me in my house, I am the Rabb. No? Khalas, there's no question. I am the Rabb in my own house. My children do what I say. My wife does what I say. I sit on my couch. They bring me the shai. Yes, I come home from work. I've done my job. Now I just command everyone to do what I'm supposed to. Why? Because Allah has made me the wali. Come on. Let's not misinterpret Allah's rules and what Allah says. Yes, there is a position for each, but let's not misinterpret. And let's not let power go to our head. Because the minute that happens, you can see what the consequences are going to be. That's why in your institutions, leadership is very key. Having the right leaders, the right people to guide you forward, the right people to lead you forward. Now some will say, okay, in the process of this institution being formed, the environment, I already mentioned this to you, will have a big effect. Will have a great big effect, okay? And that some people can play the role, some people cannot play the role, okay? And I am very proud of our sisters who are stepping forward. I think we need more leadership like this, okay? They say that in Medina there is a man, it is reported, he went to see Sayyidah Hakima. Sayyidah Hakima is the sister of Al-Imam Al-Hadi alayhi salam. She is the daughter of Al-Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. So this man, he comes to see Sister Hakima. The report, it says, the riwayah, it says, that I came in, there was like a satr of some sort, a veil, and I talked to her from behind the veil. And I said to her, who do you follow? Who do you follow? In those days, in the time of Imam Askari, it's very difficult. The Shia didn't know who the Imam was directly. Not everybody had contact with the 11th Imam. Not everyone could see the Imam. So he asked her from behind, knowing that she is the sister of Al-Imam Al-Hadi, that who is your Imam? Who are you following? Because he had received word that Imam Askari had been poisoned, had been killed. Now he doesn't know who's the next Imam. She says, I follow the 12th Imam, the son of Al-Hasan Al-Askari. So he asked her, how do you contact him? She says, he's in hiding. He's in hiding, nobody can see him. We know. Ghaybat al-Sughra began immediately upon the imamat of the 12th Imam. She said, nobody can see him, nobody can talk to him. So he asked her, he says, how do I contact him, or how do I know authentically who represents him? And who will carry the legacy of his father, Al-Hasan Al-Askari? She answers very quickly. She says, the Jadda. It's the riwayah. I'm telling you the riwayah. The Jadda of Al-Hujjah. The Jadda of the Hujjah is who? It is the mother of Imam Askari, the wife of Al-Imam Al-Hadi alayhi salam. He says, how can I follow a school that follows the guidance of a lady? Who follows the instructions of a lady. Now this lady, her name was Hudayth. Hudayth is the mother of Al-Imam Al-Askari. When Imam Askari died or was dying, he placed the wilaya in the hands of his mother. So this man who comes to see Hakima, the sister of Al-Imam Al-Hadi, he says, how can I follow a woman? How can I follow a woman? It's not possible. And how is it that this legacy is happening in front of our eyes? She says, they are only following the example of Al-Imam Abi Abdullah Al-Hussein. That on the day of Ashura, when he was dying, before he went out to the battlefield to be martyred, who did he call forward? Al-Hawra Al-Aqila Zainab Al-Kubra. Because even though the Imam was Imam Zainul Abidin, she had to protect him. So everything, all the instructions went through Zainab Al-Kubra. In the same way, Hudayth, the Jadda of Al-Imam Al-Hujjah, became the intermediary. to the Imam. You see, today is not the same. That when we have institutions, we say, no, we don't want to use a woman to be in the place of where a man should be. How do we know where is the place of the man and where is the place of the woman? How do we know this? And we are here sitting wanting to talk about the greatest of Allah's creations next to her father. Fatima al-Zahra alayha salatu wassalam. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Look at her. I will finish with this, inshallah. I won't be long on you. We need to find out who wins, yes? You're going to announce it? Ah, good. Okay. Excellent. Because then you can tell them that don't invite this guy anymore, right? Khalas, but then we'll know. No, ya Allah. Then I'll have to stay, yeah, that's it. Then you'll definitely get sick of me. Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, when Rasulullah dies, you all know. I am not telling you anything new. They deny her fadak. And I can tell you all of the riwayat, the ayat of the Quran, you all know that the argument is that the Nabi does not leave irth for his descendants. There is enough ayah in the Quran about Sulaiman inheriting Dawood, about Zakaria saying we need inheritors for Yaqub and Ali Yaqub. There is lots of ayat of the Holy Quran. Moreover, the Rawi, he says that when the ayah wa'ati dhal qurba haqqah, give to your relative their right, when that ayah came down, the Rawi, he says, I saw Rasulullah come and take fadak and give it to Fatima al-Zahra. So when fadak is given to Fatima al-Zahra, she already owned it when Rasulullah died. So the question of irth isn't even there because it was already her property. It was her haqq that was denied from her. Even then, let's assume he had not given it to her. It could not be denied to her because there were enough witnesses who attested to the fact that this was her property. So now she comes out and she speaks. And when she speaks, I ask you, all of you have read the khutbah of Fadak, the Fadakiyah. She speaks long, very long, very long. I cannot go through all of that. But that in itself is an institution. At one point, she is standing in front of these men and she says, the kuffar of Quraysh came with their weapons of animosity, their plots to cause discord against Muslims and the Islamic nation. They came to spill blood and create trouble. I am paraphrasing. And then she says something very important. She says, my father came to give you salvation, to save your lives. And she says, قَذَفَ أَخَاهُ فِي لَهَوَاتِهَا. قَذَفَ أَخَاهُ. أخاهُ of who? Whose brother? Ali ibn Abi Talib. قَذَفَ أَخَاهُ فِي لَهَوَاتِهَا. وَلَا يَنْكَفِئ حَتَّى يَطَأْ صِمَاخَهَا بِأَخْمُصِهِ. He extinguished the fire of discord. Ali ibn Abi Talib. He trampled their wings, the wings of the kuffar who were trying to destroy Islam. He trampled it under his feet. وَيُخْمِدْ لَهْبَهَا بِسَيْفِهِ. He extinguished the fire of their animosity and their assault on Islam with his sword. Ali ibn Abi Talib, مَكْدُودًا فِي ذَاتِ اللَّهِ مُجْتَهِدًا فِي أَمْرِ اللَّهِ قَرِيبًا مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ سَيِّدًا فِي أَوْلِيَاءِ اللَّهِ. These are her words. Striving hard in the way of Allah. Firm on the will of Allah, on the amr of Allah. قَرِيبًا مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Close to Rasulullah. Master amongst the awliya. مُشَمِّرًا نَاصِحًا مُجِدًّا كَادِحًا. Look at the way she's describing him. وَأَنْتُمْ فِي رَفَاهِيَّةٍ مِّنَ الْعَيْشِ. Look, then she finishes. She says, you are living a life of play and ease and comfort. Here is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Huh? Now I ask you, who is she defending? Islam indeed. But what is she defending? Imama. The institution of Imama. And I ask you, what reason does she have to do that? Ali ibn Abi Talib is not there? Ali is dead? Ali is there. So why Fatima az-Zahra has to come out in front of all these men and speak? What is the purpose behind this? What is the reasoning behind this? For her to come out of her house and speak like this. If it is just about fadak, she'll say, you're denying me fadak. Give me fadak, and here is the proof. Why talk about Imama? Why talk about Ali ibn Abi Talib? Why talk about her position to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because there is a role for that woman. For the woman of the stature of Fatima az-Zahra, which is incomparable, there is a role to play. No? And who are we to say that the role is inside the house? Indeed, her iffa, her chastity, her modesty will preclude her from coming out into public. But when the need is to champion the institution of Islam, the voice of Fatima az-Zahra comes out. So we should not underestimate it, because it is that same legacy that is in Zainab al-Kubra alayha salam. No? And in the mothers of our Imams, same way, it is the same thing. There is no difference. Because my dear brothers and sisters, you know what the contention is? When they asked, why don't you just give her fadak? When it was asked of the Sahaba that give her fadak, what is the big deal? One of the reasoning was that if we give her fadak, then she will come and say, give the khilafah to Ali ibn Abi Talib, and we will not be able to say no to her then. Fadak is not about fadak, it's about bigger than that. Don't be mistaken. Fadak is not about a piece of land, it is not about property, it is not about wealth, it is about bigger than that. It is about institution, the institution of Imama. And that's why Fatima az-Zahra is the champion of Imama. No? She championed it. That's why they come to the door of Fatima. No? This same door where Rasulullah will come and he will knock, as-salat yarhamkumullah as-salah, and wake them up. Ya Ahlul-Beyt an-Nubuwah, household of the prophethood, wake up, it is time for salat. And you see on that event, إن كسر الضلع ليس ينجبر إلا بصمصام عزيز مقتدر. قال سليم قلت يا سلمان هل دخلوا ولم يكن استئذان؟ قال وعزة الجبار دخلوا على الزهراء بغير خمار وكأني بها في دارها وقد طرق الباب فقامت منادية من الطارق صاح اللعين قولي لعلي أن يخرج ويبايع وإلا ضربنا البيت نارا. قيل إن في الدار فاطمة قال وإن قيل إن في الدار الحسنين قال وإن قيل إن في الدار القرآن قال وإن سأحرق الدار بمن فيها. فصارت توبخه وتعاتبه وهو يدافع عنها الباب المرأة أين تولي؟ والرجل يريد يدخل عليها، أين تولي الزهراء؟ أأمن مكان خلف الباب، خلف الباب. يقول أحسست بها بين الجدار والباب، فألجأت ظهري إلى الجدار ورجلي إلى الباب، فعصرتها عصرا حتى نبت المسمار في صدرها، وانبعث الدم من صدرها، وسقط جنينها على عتبة الباب. مصاب المحسن المظلوم ما يشيع مثل مصابه، عصرا ورا الباب، وخر ميتا على اعتابه. قبل ما يشوف الدنيا شاف الموت ورا الباب. يا الباب يا الباب أنا لبست الحزن طول الدهر، يا الباب ذيل وما بقى لفكر، يا الباب يا الباب نشتك وين محسن سقط، يا الباب يا الباب يوم اللي عصروا الزهرة الزكية. يوم اللي عصروا الزهرة الزكية. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها، لعن الله ظالميها. اللهم شافي كل مريض، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك، وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم، وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين، وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر وهو أقرب من ذلك، وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
أحسنتم شيخنا، طيب الله أنفاسكم وعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم إن شاء الله. أخوانا أخوات، إن شاء الله راح نبلش عملية العد والفرز، ونقوم بإعلان الأسماء إن شاء الله. وبعدها أكو طعام العشاء، لا تنسوا من جهزوا طعام هذا العشاء من دعواكم. Brothers and sisters, as you all know, we will start the counting in a minute, so bear with us. And the good part, we're going to have food at the end. Delicious dinner, inshallah, will be served after the final counts. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Yes. So if anyone has arrived late to the program and they haven't received their ballot, and also I just wanted to remind you one more time, the whoever did the electronic voting, please do not duplicate your voting by filling out a physical ballot, because both ballots will be discarded. الرجاء من الأخوة والأخوات الذين أتوا للتو، تفضلوا إذا ما حصلتوا على